Sleepless insomnia, wide awake, exhausted. Breakfast with benefits.
Hello, this is Breakfast with Benefit.
Welcome, everyone.
I'm Beyza.
Krista.
I'm Julia.
And welcome to our listeners, our current listeners, and welcome to new listeners. By the way, how did you guys sleep last night?
Again, nothing, 4:36. And there's a quote between me and my husband. We see each other in the morning, 6:30, and it's like 4 to 6, 5, 6, 4, 4, 5, 3, 3, 3, 4. This how we know who didn't sleep in those hours.
What do those things mean?
Means I
time.
woke up at 4:30, I couldn't sleep till 6. So it is such a routine. So I don't sleep. I don't remember even when was the last time I put my head on a pillow and wake up in the morning.
That's crazy. What about you?
I actually slept so well after a long time in the first time because I turned down the temperature, our AC, and I was freezing, and I don't like AC at all. It's really hot. What about you, Julia?
Well, I slept well. I have been sleeping well these past 5 days. I don't know exactly what happened. Usually Sundays, I don't sleep very well. I think because of alcohol, because I usually have one glass of wine or two, and then I think it really just gets my sleep to a worse place. I think our guest who's here today with us, Annie, I call her Annie because she's Brazilian and I'm Brazilian too, but we're going to call her Anne as well. So we're going to mix both here. She's a sleep coach, so she's going to talk to us about sleeping and sleep habits and, across ages. It's been quite an important topic, I think, right? Annie, do you want to introduce yourself a little bit?
First of all, I'd like to thank you three because this is a great honor. I love speaking about my work. And also, I believe that we should support women that do things for themselves, that believe in themselves to start new jobs and new entrepreneurs. So this is amazing. And I'm happy to be here. As Julia said, I'm a sleep coach. And I actually used to work as a lawyer in Brazil 12 years ago or more. But when I got pregnant with my first girl, I had one thing that was really clear for me, that I wanted her to sleep well, to have a good relationship with sleep, because I had a bad one. I used to be an awful sleeper. I grew up as the kid that everybody say that, oh, Annie doesn't like to sleep. Annie doesn't need to sleep. She stays well if she sleeps for just a couple of hours. She has an endless energy, and that's a total life.
What an amazing transformation from becoming a sleep coach, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And someone who struggled so much, and probably that's in the past, right?
Now it is, but I think it was my great motivation because sleep time to me used to be an anxiety time. So I didn't want her to have that. When I got pregnant, I decided that I wanted to do something about it. Eddie, I will tell you later, but it ended up being my profession now, and also the thing that I love to do. So
that's great. And how did you start out on being a sleep coach? What did you take classes? What did you do? You read books?
So the first thing I did was I started to try to understand how sleep works. Because 12 years ago, everything that we hear about sleep was, this is kids, they don't sleep, get used to it. Once you're a mom, give up on sleeping. Or we have a solution, but that will be leaving your kid to cry it out in the bedroom, because he will, and I use quotes here, he will end up learning how to sleep.
Oh, that's the Ferber method, right? Because I've been through with a non-sleeping baby. Ferber, Tracy Hawk, Kim West, 90s, 80s. Yes.
Exactly.
Wow.
They used to do that.
She knows quite a lot, right?
Yes, I suffered a lot. I suffered a lot.
So Beyza told us that she had a long struggle with her kids, right? I don't know if both or...
That's the thing. My first kid was my daughter, perfect. Everything was easy. Second one didn't sleep first day. Like starting from I tried everything. So I'm so in love with you right now, even we just met.
And you went on and you read about all those doctors and everything.
It keeps changing. It's so funny to me. What do you think? Like in 1980s, cried out loud. 90s, baby wise said something else, but then the pediatrician, the American Society said, no, this has to be forbidden because kids are getting crazier later on. Hold on a little bit, hold them tight, put it back, go out. So people keep
Yeah.
trying and trying and trying. Did we finally find a solution at the end?
The thing is, and I will finish answering your other question before, but after that. But the thing is, people usually focus on the sleep time itself. They try to make the kid not cry or not to call out for their parents. So usually what people do is they focus mainly on the sleep time itself. It's like, okay, now it's night, 7 p.m. Let's start to think about sleep. And now they try to make the kid not to call out for their parents. But the thing is, sleep is a holistic thing. It's systemical. It's not only on sleep time that you build up a good sleep, even for us adults. So what I kind of started to study about that, now answering your other question back then, was I would like to understand that how sleep works. So what I felt back there, and I end up seeing that it was right, is like as more ready the kid is, as readier the kid is to go to sleep, the less he'll need us. What I tried to build was okay. And first, I started with my own kid. That was my only goal back then. I just only wanted her to sleep. I didn't care about anything else. I wanted her not to feel the way I used to feel when it was like approaching sleep time. I wanted her to like to sleep, which is something that I always
To sleep. I like that phrase, like to sleep.
That's exactly. That was my goal there. I wanted her to be like happy going to bed.
So first you taught them and then you taught yourself, or this happened
First
same
phase
time?
I did with her, but
Mhm.
at the time I was a career coach, a life coach, and I used to work at there. I did this transition from the being a lawyer. I started to work as a coach because I wanted to stay more with my kid. That was something that was also important for me. And while I was helping other moms and other parents, they started to ask me, "Didn't you have a baby recently?" And I was like, "Yeah, she's sleeping." And I'm like, "Oh, but how do you know she was gonna sleep?" And I was like, "No, because I kind of worked her routine." It was like, but can you program yourself? Can you like have a stable routine? I was like, yes, I can. And it started to have like more people asking me, can you give me some tips on it? Can you help me a little bit? And I was like, I think I have a niche here. I think
Yeah.
that now I'm a coach who help with sleep, but I can be a sleep coach who uses coach to support it.
Routine seems like the key importance in putting babies to sleep.
What I used to say is like we have a couple of pillars that work together to sustain a good sleep.
Mm.
So Julia asked me if I started with babies and then other like grown-ups and everything. Yes, I started with babies because back then it was my pain and it was something that I studied. But with time, I realized that moms, they don't sleep well also.
I know, and I just-
I know.
Oh yeah.
I know. The ones that are young in the heart, but not so young in the heart, we don't sleep well. Also, men don't sleep well too. And I started to research about, and it's actually something more serious than we think.
Mhm.
Sleep is now like the lack of sleep is one of the main concerns in the global thinking, not only US or Brazil or Europe. It's like everybody, we are living a time of sleep deprivation as something endemic. So we need to stop and think about it. So because of that, I started to see that it wasn't enough for only the baby to sleep. Mom will need a support too, or the bigger kids. And now we go back to one of your questions, like people used to think that, oh, is routine. What is the key? There are a couple of things, but the traditional methods that used to use some like selected formulas, like, okay, now we have awakened windows here. We have like the average sleep for age. Okay, so you do this, this, and that. But that's not only this. And we have a problem with this. When you use cry it out, you put a baby in a bedroom, you close the door. Okay, I don't agree with that. That's awful. But the baby won't come out. So apparently it will work. But we have two consequences with that. First, this baby with time, he doesn't learn how to sleep. We have many studies, and one of them is made from NYU here in New York that show that kids who were sleep trained, they don't sleep more. They just don't call for you, which is a big difference.
They cry
now-
themselves to
Totally right
sleep.
now.
And I get goosebumps when I say that
Yeah,
every
it's
time.
sad.
It's awful.
Yeah.
But we have a second consequence with that. When they're babies and they don't call out for you, You don't know what is going on. But then we have teenagers. And the one of us who already have teenagers at home, we know that one of the main things to help them and us through the teen years is communication, right?
Right.
But if I was the one who taught him that it's not worth it to call for me, what did I plant? What is the seed that is going to grow over there? Is it
I'm
fear?
fainting here.
So there's no
Totally makes
I did
sense.
that, not that I did that, but oh my
Yeah.
God, the
I know, I
communication
know.
over.
It is. So that was something that when you do cry it out, people usually don't think about that. They just want to focus on the short-term solution. But we are thinking about a life. We are not thinking just about a couple of months of this life. So
Yeah.
this is why I decided that I was not going to focus only on baby sleep, but on sleep itself. And that's what I try to do. I try as a whole to find their better sleep sometimes, and it's really frequent that the babies are like the main problem, as for saying in the beginning, but I can help with all of them. And there is a bonus thing. When you talk about a baby, as I said, you will put them in a bedroom and they don't know how to come out. But how do you teach a teen to stay in their bed? I don't think we can use cry it out. So this is another reason we need to understand sleep and stop thinking about like inhibiting them to call for me. We want
And the
them to
myth,
call.
yeah, the myth I remember, make them tired, make them tired. But I learned in my time that's totally not true. And that's also a
Is
myth,
there
right?
truth to it to
No, like
make them
the
tired?
baby has to be
It's a
rested.
balance.
It's a
It's a
balance.
balance. We have something called homeostatic pressure that it's, as for saying, that is the pressure that our body does, like pushing us to sleep. It's their almost irresistible strength that when we are like watching TV and we try to stay awake, but it's almost impossible. This is homeostatic pressure. And it has some important rules on our body functioning. First, it pushes us to start to sleep. And also, it keeps us sleeping for longer times. So we need to be tired enough so we can fall asleep easily, but not as tired that falling asleep gets harder.
Right.
You know, when you're like too tired and you cannot
Yeah.
settle down, we don't want that too. So it's a balance. You need to
Yeah.
be in the right amount of tiredness.
And I'm just thinking about something as you said, the cry to sleep. Is that creating also trauma?
If you go back in terms of psychoanalysis and everything and Winnicott, I think leaving the kid without proper support is not the best solution for any kid. Leaving a kid that has no tools to deal with, abandonment and being alone can create problems.
The first word that I would use is the word that you just used, bond. This is something we need to have, we need to have a solid bond with our parents or with the ones that raise us. It doesn't need to be our parents, but we need to have, like in Portuguese, it will be apego seguro. I don't know the proper translation for that, but it will be like a safety attachment, as we're saying, with our caregivers. So this is the first thing I would think. If you leave a kid to cry without first of all, you don't know if he's ready to sleep. So this is why I said we need to work on all the other things before.
With stages.
And exactly, they need to be like ready to sleep. That is the key. But second, if you just leave them and you're not showing them this kind of support, and that doesn't mean you need to be there the whole night. That's not it. But it's a balance. It's like teaching them how to ride a bike. For me, that's the perfect metaphor. You are there as long as they need you, and you keep giving them some space to try to ride it for themselves. With time, they kind of realize that when they pedal, the bike doesn't fall anymore. So that's the thing. They need to realize that they are able to sleep. But I do that, not just pushing them down the hill. I kind of support them for a while.
That's a very good
I-
analogy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like
Very
it.
good
So
analogy.
I think that's it. And they have a staircase study here that they did with some moms and some kids a couple of years ago. And they kind of tried the bond thing with the kids and moms. They did only with moms, but I think it applies to dads too. They kind of asked moms to stay with the kids in a room, and they did different experimentations. So the mom wouldn't show any reaction when a still face, I guess, when they were with the babies. Then the mom will leave and come back. They kind of realized, and that's why they started about the safety attachment that I said. And check on the translation of that, please, because this one I forgot. But anyway, they kind of realized that when the kid feels safe and they have this bond solid, they deal better with the mom going and coming back.
Yes.
So you have kids that feel readier to explore, that feel readier to meet other people, but we don't push them.
Yeah.
So sleep is one of the things one of the moments that you work with that. Not only one, but one of them.
And going straight to teenage years, if a parent, for example, didn't have this bond when they were a baby, can this parent remediate the situation when they're older? Can this be
Focusing on sleep or focusing at all?
focusing on sleep? But in terms of sleep, what can be done to a teenager that hasn't been taught by the parents to fall asleep?
I would work on them being readier as much as I can to sleep. That would be always the first approach I have, because I was doing this speech a couple of years ago and I was talking in this event about wellness. And I kind of wanted to research how people would refer to sleep time itself, because I realized that in Portuguese, we have this particular way of saying it that we don't in other languages. In Portuguese, doing like a literal translation, we say, I'm going to make him sleep. But we don't make anybody, it's impossible. If it were possible, nobody will have a sleep problem.
Yeah.
But in other languages, we don't use that. Usually we say, I'm going to put him in bed. I'm going to bring him to bed. And I checked with Japanese, French, German, Italian, Spanish. And usually what people say is something related to the action. Like I'm going to bring him to bed or something like this. So when you think about this phrase, I'm going to make him sleep, that's the problem. We cannot make a kid sleep. That's impossible. I could be holding him in bed. It ends up being him who is going to fall asleep eventually. So what can I do to make that easier? That's the key point. So first of all, we need to have a routine when this kid has enough energy spent. And I mean, not only physical, but mentally. I don't want them to be exhausted, but I want them to be tired. But it's important to be tired. It's the same when you think about eating. We need to feel hungry. We cannot be starving, but we need to feel hungry so we are able to eat. That's the same about sleep. We need to be tired to, like, our body wanted and help us with this sleep.
Yeah.
So that would be the first thing. Second, I would pay attention on how much outside time we have. And here in most cold regions, that's something that if you think about winter, especially winter, but other seasons too, the kids, they stay too much time indoors. So they are not enough exposed to daylight. And that is one of the things that help us regulate our system. So we need our circadian circle to be, needs to be aligned with that. So I would pay attention to that. Encourage your kids to go outside, even for a quick walk, even for ride a bike or whatever. And now we have an opportunity to help with the bond. Since your question was a little bit about that, find some activities that the adult, like to do, so you can connect with your kid on something they want to do. So, oh, I don't like to ride a bike. Okay, but do you like to go a walk? No, I don't like to go to walk. Do you like to read a book? Go with them to the library. Change the ride in the car for a little stroll. Do that, because sometimes we are not paying attention, but the small things make a huge difference. Because not only they will be, as I said, exposed to daylight, but they will have quality time with you. And that we go back to the trust they need, because sleep is a trust moment. Do you remember every time we see like a prehistorical movie, if this old caveman will go to sleep, they will find a protected place. Why is that? Because we are vulnerable. We are vulnerable when we are sleeping. So the kid needs to feel connected, and they need this bond to help them to feel safe, because we need to kind of open ourselves to sleep. We don't sleep if we're not trusting.
That's perfect.
Wow, this is so nice. Well, I'm very impressed by this. By this protect. But I was connecting with my sleep problem. I forgot about my teenage. I'm like, yes, I need to be safe. I need to be safe. The main problem, the adult problem is a little bit in that less daylight. I mean, in Miami, we cannot.
Think about this. Just
But
use,
the AC, but we're
just to use what she said. I was gonna say this. Like you say, oh, we live in a cold weather. But we also living in this extreme heat where we are mostly indoors, within the air conditioning, 6 months around.
It makes a huge difference.
To be outside. So there is not a great balance for us either. Talking about the sleep deprivation problem that's across the board, right? There's also the use of iPads or iPhones.
I was gonna get there. Usually I leave that
Yes.
to the end because people don't like to talk about
You
it.
cannot get out. That's
Yeah.
why. That's a danger place.
But
What
eat-
problem you
Eating
face?
habits also, I wanted to ask how they influence.
yes, I was
With
gonna say
yours
about
eating
yes.
late.
You mean
There's
eating
some-
habits? Is that what it
Yeah,
said?
like how food digestion
Yeah.
is connected to good
That
sleep.
makes a huge difference too. It's something really interesting if you research about foods that help you with your sleep and foods that don't. And also, I always say that pay attention to your own body. For example, I usually eat meat, but I realize that if I eat beef at night, for me, it affects my sleep. I usually have
Mhm.
nightmares. I don't sleep as well. So when you have a bad sleep at all, it's hard
Yeah.
to pay attention to
But
those
isn't that
details.
also the timing when you eat? You know, they say
That
that
makes a
don't
huge
eat like
difference
2,
too.
3 hours before you go to
It
bed.
doesn't need to be two or three. I would say two is enough because it's again a balance between you need to feel satisfied, you need to feel that you are fed, but you cannot be like I just ate and go to bed. That won't be good.
And
And
also, I
also,
don't want to be starving going to bed as well. If I eat,
yeah, the balance
Right.
between both exactly.
that
But
usually happens to me.
yes,
But you don't have dinner usually. You don't eat.
But when they say 5 p.m., intermediate
Now
fast,
it's-
I'm like,
yeah.
Guys, I'm hungry now again, all over
Yes.
again.
It kind of gets in the way. But if you have to choose, it's better to go a little hungry than full because I would say balance, but if you have to choose. But the thing is, we have hormones in our body. Their job is to decrease our activity, our body activity.
Mhm.
So if we are putting food for it to digest while we are in bed, we are kind of making hard for them their work. So our body doesn't rest the way it should. So this is
Mhm.
really important. We need to be like decreasing our
Homeostasis.
speed,
Yes.
Yeah.
but we
So
need to
that
be
there's no
decreasing.
extra usage of your body's energy for digestion, right? Yeah.
Exactly. So that would be one
Is
of the
it
other
the same
things.
for the kids as well?
Babies are a little
letting-
different because they need to feel like their tummies are full because that with babies help them to fall asleep. So
Yeah, not
difference would be-
babies.
but not exactly
like-
before going to bed. But
Like
not
9
exactly-
years old, 12 years old, 14, 15
Yeah,
years
but I'm
old.
looking at my teenage son, and sometimes he has dinner on a decent time, and then he snacks at like 10 o'clock.
Yeah, but depending on the snack, that's not a problem. For
it's not
example,
a-
some nuts, a light cheese, or something, a fruit, that is actually can be good. What I wouldn't do is this meal that his body will
Heavy,
have to work. for.
Heavy, yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
And going back to your sleep that I interrupted, you were talking. Maybe it has to do with our age, and I think maybe
Shut
that
up,
could be.
Jane.
I don't think with people what she keeps bringing those hard things.
Everybody knows we talk about menopause a lot here.
She first brought the screen theme, and now she's bringing that. Not nice, Julia.
No,
Not nice.
How old are you? Am I asking Anna how old is she?
I would never answer that. A friend would never do that.
But maybe
Yes, menopause people doesn't sleep at all because that is the first sign of perimenopause.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
little
It's one of the
flashes,
things that get affected.
little sweat over here. Like, what is this sweat?
Yeah,
Then
so
that's the
beautiful.
first
Yeah.
sign. Oh, you are
Yeah,
menopause.
it kind of affects. But what I would say is like, of course, it affects a lot of things in our body, and I don't think nature is super fair with us sometimes. But yes, I know.
Don't get
It's
me
like
into
the-
that Mother Nature fight of me.
I
the
know.
Mother
I
Nature.
totally
No,
agree.
no.
No, I totally agree. But the thing is, we have measures to deal with it. That's the thing. A couple of years ago, I was diagnosed with fibromyalgia, and I had this big crisis, and I was almost 40 days in bed. I couldn't go out of bed. The pain was so hard that when the sheet was over my feet, it looked like it was breaking it. It was awful.
Oh my God.
Yes, I had like vaginal labor. I had kidney stones, but these, oh my God, it was.
It's
bad.
an autoimmune disease, right?
This was
Yeah.
how long ago?
Some people
Maya?
say it's not autoimmune.
It's
It
not?
was in 2015
Okay.
that I was diagnosed. But I have Hashimoto that is autoimmune, but fibromyalgia, they said it's not, but it's something that has an emotional trigger. But the thing is, one of the things about that is you don't have a proper cure for it. You need to learn how to deal with it. And I think it showed me that our body can do so much more than we know. So I had this big crisis back then. I had to go to depressives at a time. And I had to do like a lot of measures to just relieve the pain. It was a hard 6 months for me to like get back on my feet. But after that, I never had a crisis anymore. And why is that? And I don't take any antidepressants since I moved here to US in 2018. What I take now is like vitamins, supplements, but I don't take any other medicines anymore. But the thing is, I learned to understand my body. I learned to work with it. I don't mean that, oh my God, I'm a miracle maker. I'm not. I just learned how to deal with myself. And one of the main things I do is have a better sleep. And it, of course, I'm biased. I work with that. But I would say that it makes a huge difference on your like emotional side, physical side, skin side. It changes everything because when you're not sleeping well, you will be unbalanced and that will affect many more areas of your life. So going back to menopause, it's something that will pass most of us. So sleeping well as much as we can helps, but it's their situation. What came first, the egg or the chicken? Because I need to
Yes.
sleep better. So I deal better with menopause. But if I'm on menopause, it's hard to sleep better. So what I do, I like
Exactly.
to, yes, I know it's kind of a tricky question. But anyway, the thing would be we have to control what we can control.
Yeah.
This is how we deal with most of the things in our lives. So what I would say is like control your exercises. Exercise for me today, it's something that I don't question. I do. And I know it seems like, oh, she's a coach. I am a coach, but I hate those kind of coaches like, let's go. You can do it. I hate it. If you talk to me when I'm doing my exercise, I'll punch you in the face. But you need to do your exercise. I have a video of me kicking my husband because he was doing that. So it's not, I didn't actually hit him, but the thing is, that's something we need to. What do you eat most of the time? And I don't mean get stressed about it. I mean, try to eat balanced, well balanced. You can control. Try to realize the triggers that help you and the triggers that don't, as I did with the fibromyalgia, because then you kind of learn how to navigate it. It's not a matter of what, it's a matter of how. Am I going to leave it? Yes. I don't know when, but I can work on the how. That's the thing.
And everybody's need of time of sleeping is different, is it?
It is.
Right.
It is different, but we have an average amount for every age. So if you take a newborn, he will sleep 18 hours per 24.
I
So
would love that right now.
I know in theory, I know.
You would
I
love
know.
for yourself to sleep like a newborn? Okay.
I wish. What my husband used to joke is like, I wish that somebody would say to me, go have a nap. Now, like, that's my dream come true. Yeah.
I feel guilty about it sometimes. I do.
Don't feel guilty. If the nap doesn't affect your nighttime sleep, it's okay to have it.
Yeah.
Because as you said, we all have different needs.
Yeah.
So there are people who will have a nap during the day and they can totally fall asleep at night and it won't affect them.
Look
But
at the
there are people-
Mediterranean countries, right? They take a nap,
Yes.
they take a siesta. Someone told me after they said, when you turn 40, make sure you take a nap. Even if
Yeah.
it's a 20-minute nap, do it.
That's another thing. You have to see how much you are doing on your nap, because if you have like an hour and a half nap, that might affect your night. So
Yeah.
you have to observe that. But yes, we have different needs. What I would say is like you have this amount for like a suggested amount per age, but we have people in the beginning of it and people in the end of it. For example, I have 2 kids. They are completely different sleepers. And I can say that because I work with both of them. They both sleep really well. They have a perfect autonomy. We were in a friend's house on Friday, and my youngest, she's 6 years old. She turned to me eventually and said, Mom, can you put my pajamas? I need to go to bed. And she fell asleep in my friend's house. She went to bed. She fell on her bed and she slept there. We picked her up and we brought her home, and that was it.
Oh,
So
did you
they
brag? Did you brag to your friend
Of course I did. No, she doesn't have kids. She wouldn't care. But I'm bragging here now. Let's do it. But it is. She is different than my oldest. My oldest, she is a little bit more like me. She doesn't need as much sleep hours as my youngest. But what I say is like we can all of us can sleep well, but not the same amount. But we need to take a look at the suggested amount per age. We cannot say, oh, my kid doesn't need to sleep as they used to do with me. Your kid needs to sleep. Everybody does. Sleep deprivation is a form of torture. And I'm not joking. That's actually a true situation in like wars and things like that. But different needs of it. So you need to realize, for example, my oldest, now she's 11 and a half. But when she was 2.5, she didn't have a nap anymore. And with everything I tried, she wouldn't have a nap anyhow. And then you would say, but how did you do? She would used to go to bed around 7 and she would sleep through the night nonstop until 7:38. That's her. And
7:38.
That's great.
Yeah.
And what about the quality, right? They talk about the REM, the deep.
yeah.
What's the ratio? What's about the variables that everybody is, the
What I
older
would say,
dormant, how
it's sure
trustable those are?
they are trustable enough. I don't like using the watch during the night. It's me. I don't think that I can relax with it. But usually the rings, they are a good guide.
Uh-huh.
But what I would say is what I heard from a friend a couple of years ago, because I lost a ton of weight and Junior met me before. I lost in kilos, 38 kilos. So that would be, I don't know, maybe
20
80 pounds.
pounds?
Some
Like,
kilos.
yes.
It's,
That's a lot.
yes.
Yeah.
And, it took me four
I'm
and a
still bad with pounds and kilos, and so
I know. I guess
but-
it's 80 pounds or
okay,
something.
wow.
But it's what, so if you guys that are listening to us want to check 38 kilos, because I don't work in pounds. I hate pounds.
Mhm.
But, but the
Great.
thing that it got me was a friend told me this about eating, and I will make the reference about the rings and everything that tracks your sleep. What she said to me in the beginning of my process, because as I said, it took me 4.5 years to achieve my goal, was like in the beginning, we are doing so many things that are out of track that we shouldn't be focusing on those specific details. They will only stress us. So if your sleep is not well, why would you be tracking it instead of working on it? What I would do is control the things you can. Let's exercise more. Let's eat better. Let's go outside. Let's do activities that we have pleasure, because pleasure is important. We need to enjoy life so we can get in the end of the night ready to go to sleep. So it would be what I would focus. Oh, Annie, but I'm already sleeping so well and I'm having this. Should I do that? If it brings you peace, do it. Use the ring. That's what I do. I have a scale in my bathroom, and now it's a pleasure for me to going on top of it. But in the beginning, I needed to work in so many things that if I would be like, okay, I need this, I need body mass, I needed to lose weight. I needed to do everything a little better than to eat better, to exercise. So that's what I would do. I would focus mainly on the things you can control now, and I would observe the stage that you are on your journey. That's what I would.
Yeah, there are so many things, information and gadgets that are available.
They
and
can be
so hard to
overwhelming.
pick. Yeah, exactly. And that could create actually more stress.
Anxiety,
That's
exactly.
where I was with the
After people
Garmin
get in
and-
the morning and they go running to see, oh my God, it's my sleep
Yeah,
pattern.
yeah.
Just to start the day disappointed because probably it was shit.
But going back to the different intervals between REM and deep, what's the ideal REM,
It
deep?
depends on the age.
light?
For example, babies, they have a different sleep stage than adults. So for us, it will depend on the age too. I wouldn't bring that. I don't think it's going to help, because people will listen to this and they will start to get crazy about it.
Mm-hmm.
What I would say is like, try to get in the end of your night. So let me rephrase this. Try to fall asleep between, ideally, I would say 9:30, but as a mom and a woman, I would say not. So
Yeah.
ideally 10 p.m. If you can do it, that would be good. And if you can go up to 6:37 and you wake up in the morning and you're feeling good, that's the first thing I would do.
Mhm.
I wouldn't be focusing on that. Usually people like to have those guides, like how much this should I have? I don't believe in doing that in an average way, because that will only create anxiety. People will start to feel stressed about it. And we are different.
Yeah, maybe because nobody sleeps anymore. That's the only
That too.
way. That's
That
the
too.
only way we feel. Oh, 1 or 2 hours RAM is enough. So to console us a little bit to feel better about that,
Exactly.
because there is no full-time sleep anymore for no one.
I mean,
That
for
might
some
happen.
of us, for Anne, for example, I was even going to ask her, what in your case made the difference? I mean, there were many things that you mentioned, like exercising and maybe eating habits, but what you think made the change? Was it one thing, two things, or
So
was there
sleep better.
anything that, yes, that you felt like, oh, that's
share.
going wrong?
I'll have to share a
Your
personal
secrets,
thing,
Mom.
but no, first a personal thing, then a secret.
Only if you want to.
No, totally. Because it was something that it took me a while to realize. My grandmother used to do cry it out with my mom. So she used to put my mom in a bedroom and she used to leave my mom there. and she was like 2, 3 months old. So my mom grew up with this trauma because this is a trauma. We cannot neglect that.
Mm-hmm.
When I was born, I was the first daughter, and my mom wasn't ready to deal with it. And she will be always jumping with me. Like she will listen a little, she'll be running to me. But my dad wasn't, because back then we know the rules. They used to do it differently. We are
Mm-hmm.
trying to get that better. Please,
Yeah.
guys, who are
We
listening,
will.
work on that.
Well, next
But
generation
anyway,
will.
I hope so. But anyway, so my dad wasn't this helpful back then. So what he used to do is he used to get home really late, and he used to wake me up as a baby. So because he said that he was missing me. But after he
Oh.
was, yeah, you're right. But after he was like, okay, I saw her, I'm okay. He will give me back to my mom, and he will go to sleep, and she will stay with the baby that took a 2-hour nap or something
Yeah.
night, and she will have to work with me to fall asleep again. So if you take a picture of this, and this is something I worked a lot in therapy, probably for her, my sleep time started to be this hard moment. And it took her a long time, like just dealing with all of it. So I grew up feeling that I wasn't safe when I was starting my sleep. So that was something that I didn't realize consciously, but it was there. So I used to feel that every time I was going to fall asleep, I would be anxious. I would be
Yeah,
like,
you
oh my
were
God.
disturbed. You were
Yeah,
sleeping disturbed. And
exactly.
I really appreciate you sharing this because I think it's so vulnerable. I wanted to say something to you as well. It's also, something that I've recently figured out about myself. I started sleeping well. It's been a journey for me. I've been sleeping well. I mean, I would say much better than before. Then when before, I don't know. But I've been on this journey and it's helping. And then I've been tracking what's going on with me and how can I make my sleep better. All right. But I realized one thing. When I was born, my parents were getting a divorce and they were already living in separate houses. And I've realized that what they would do is they would carry me to the house and wherever they were. And I was always being carried around. And I didn't have a
Any
lot of
control of it.
Exactly. They didn't respect my sleep. So I was always being awakened. I was always kind of
Being
startled.
moved. Yeah.
Yes, being moved from one place to the other. And that really was critical for my sleep. So all of these things that we're talking about, right? We, of course, eating, exercising, and everything else really helps with everything. But there's
Need
a
to
lot of
heal.
things that we need to heal even before we start. I don't want to
Exactly
say
that.
before, but maybe at the same
While.
time, it runs deeper than we
Totally.
probably think about it.
Totally. Exactly that. So that was something that I needed to realize because I was doing everything right. I was already exercising and I was like doing everything by the book. But although I was sleeping much better, I was still feeling this anxiety. What I would say is try to understand better your sleep history. That's important. If you can, if your parents are alive, if you have like this open talking to them, try to
Communication.
figure out that because that was something that it took me a while. And my husband did something really beautiful because the day that I realized this on a therapy session, I finished the session and I was like a little shocked. I was like, yeah, I couldn't process it properly. I was like, oh my God, this makes so much sense. But in the same time, it's like, ow, why? What am I going to do with that? And when we went to bed, he hugged me like really tight and he said, you are safe. You are safe.
Oh, you're gonna make us cry
And
right now.
I know I'm already crying again, but the thing is, while I was listening to it, I started to cry and I realized that I needed to feel safe. And from that day on, my sleep changed. And
Oh.
to close a cycle, that kind of, she said she had this own moment when we were starting talking. I had this
Hallelujah.
yes, the whole moment happened to me because I was like, I'm helping families and kids and people all over the world to heal from that. I didn't know consciously that was the reason. I thought it was because I wanted my kid to sleep well, but it's actually I was the kid. So I wanted to heal that and I can share that. So I think if
This
you
is
ask me, that would be
makes
the
so much
thing.
sense to look for the kind of root cause of going back and start from there.
What
It's
do you
so
feel when you're
amazing. And
going
you
to
don't
bed?
think about it.
But it's a journey, right? Like to go deep into therapy and get there it takes time. It takes a lot of devotion, and
But I
it's
guess
not.
everything that is solid will take. We are living. This is a process. Life is a journey. And I know it sounds cheesy, but it is. I mean, it's not about where we're getting, it's how we live until there. So
Yeah,
Yeah,
in the end.
absolutely.
I
for
will never
Monday.
gonna go sleep. I will
No,
never
no,
gonna
no.
sleep nice. This deep that I'm thinking, tomorrow we're gonna stay for the
There was this, there was that.
No, it's going to
it's
be the
impossible
opposite.
for me.
No, it's not. Believe me, when we started looking at it, I thought I would never be a
It
good
is
sleeper.
there's so many things and you don't understand.
To your dad and
Pick
ask
one.
him.
one.
Our parents,
No,
our Turkish parents.
Big
huh?
Pick
one.
one. You only start with pick one. That's
Uh-huh.
what you do. You don't try to change everything. When I started my journey of losing weight, I was like, okay, how much should I lose? I was almost 100 kilos, and
Unbelievable, by the way.
I'm a 5'3". That I know because I had to learn that I'm 1.59 centimeters person. So it's a lot of weight for my tiny me. And if I had looked like this, like, oh my God, it's too much, I would never do that.
One
But
step at a
now
time.
I would do. That's what I do with everything. Now, when I look back, I'm able to say thank you to myself for starting it. So what I would say is pick one thing that it's doable for,
Mhm.
and then we can go back to the screen.
Mm.
That is something you can control. Leave your phone in the bathroom. Leave your phone in the living room. Don't bring it to your bedroom, and don't say it's because you have like an alarm to wake you up. Because we have other type of alarms too.
Yes, that's
Yeah,
right.
exactly.
Excuses.
Do you think magnesium helps you fall asleep
does.
or keep?
If
Because I
you-
like magnesium, and I think it helps. Yeah.
It helps, but what I'd say is like it's only magnesium would not make a huge difference. But if you put it on top of many, like a couple of changes, so I don't scare her off, but a couple of changes that you will do, you will make a difference. But you have to be careful with the amount.
What is your opinion about if there is no hope for some people and they take sleeping pills? What would you recommend that it's the most harmless on your body?
What I would say is like, first try like the adjustments you need. Because of course there will be, for example, we have some conditions that affect your hormones to sleep and all the other factors. So don't have a prejudice of not taking the medicine if that's something that might help you, but don't do just that. So if you get to a point that with all the measured adjustments are not being enough and you're still not sleeping enough, try that. But I can assure you that most of us, of course, making this exception for medical conditions, specific ones, but most of us can achieve a good sleep with a lot of adjustment that we don't try first. I
Mhm.
would try that first, or at least at the same time, because it's for you not having to take the pill. You have to take the pill.
Some functional doctors also. You remind me of melatonin.
Yes, that's
Yeah.
Not
But
sleeping
I
pills,
was-
but
yeah.
everybody recommends melatonin at
For me,
Yes.
it never worked.
Yeah.
So
But the
it works for
melatonin
me.
has two things that we need to pay attention. First is I think people give it too easily to kids. That you're not supposed to be doing that.
No, never.
And here in US, it's like gummies. I mean, a couple of years ago, Pillow Company approached me, so I do advertising for them. And I was like, oh, that's great. That's all to do with my work. And they were like, yeah, we are also offering melatonin, so you can make it. And I was like, no, that I won't do it.
Wow.
And they were like, no, but it's good because it helps. I know. And there are some cases who need it. That's not what I'm saying. But we cannot like advertise it as the regular situation because it's not. It's not like, oh, take this. We have consequences. That's the first thing. And the second thing is melatonin can help you fall asleep. But if you're not adjusting the rest, what happens to many, many adults is like they take the melatonin in the beginning of the night, but they wake up in the middle of the night and it steals them 2 or 3 hours of sleep. So
Mhm.
people think, oh, I sleep easier when I have melatonin, but then during the night, many adults have this like waking.
This could be my husband's problem. He always
It
takes
was actually
melatonin.
mine for a while too. So I think
You
it
know
might
this
be.
5, 6, 6, 7, 6, 7.
Mhm.
You know
When you were saying that, I was thinking that, but I was saving for when we talked about melatonin. Yes, it might be because it happened to me. And I think it's something we don't pay attention because it's in the middle of the night. But I would try to do it without it for a couple of days or decrease a little bit because in theory, it doesn't addict you. So, and it doesn't. But mentally, we start to think we can only sleep if we have it. So that's powerful. So
Yeah.
it's important to
That's
do the
addiction.
adjustment.
Exactly. Yeah.
Does CBD help in any way, you think?
Oh,
There are people who say
Mhm.
yes. And again, if it's something that helps you relax and helps you help you to have a better quality sleep, you can do it. But again, I wouldn't do it without the adjustments. I always say that help your body to help you. So if you can, and I know that I kind of have the risk of sounding as those motivational coaches, but
Coaches.
anyway, I would try to do that because with time, again, you want the CBD or the rest you have your everything you want to take. You want it to help you. You don't want to depend on it. For me,
Uh-huh.
it has a difference.
Right.
of course, we are looking for the easy way. That's
Yeah,
why.
and it
Pill?
depends.
Is there a pill
Yeah, that
for my problem?
depends on the mindset of people. Some people it's just
Yeah.
so easy to turn to pills. Some people would start to take the steps
Yeah.
and improve.
I wouldn't say it's the easiest way. What I would say, we try the short-term solution as the only solution. We
Mhm.
don't want to invest time in the process.
Yeah.
And I think this is why we solve it for a couple of days or a couple of months most, but then the problem is bad. Sleep suffers from that a lot.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
Yes, for sure. And guys, we're getting to the end of our
I learned so much. I
Yeah,
learned so
thank you.
much. Like it's first, I'm gonna say my husband, don't take melatonin. Then I'm like, hug me tight, please.
that's true. That's true.
Yes.
Yes, that will be better because you kind of have the full picture.
yeah.
I really love this approach that going back to the roots when it comes to sleeping. It was such a new information for me. I never thought about it that way. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much
Really
for being
appreciate it.
here. We love seeing you
pleasure.
and getting to know all this new information. And I hope that our listeners got the best of this as well. And I'm sure they did. We're gonna leave your information for our listeners
Mhm.
to,
Yeah.
if
I'm
they
gonna be
have
the first one.
babies,
I-
if they
for
have
it.
teenagers, or if even for themselves. I think they could totally use you. So thank you so much
Yeah,
being
I'll
here
be
for
super
this
happy
time.
to help. No,
Thank
thank you
you.
so much. Thank you guys for inviting me. It's a pleasure. As I said, it's something that I really believe and love to do it. And I think it makes a huge difference. And it doesn't need to be a stressful or painful situation. It's like it's doable. It's something we can fit with our lives. When I say it's like when you're trying a new clothes and you're trying to put these pants. The pants are supposed to be on your size. Now you have to be on their side.
Yeah.
The same with routines and good habits. You have to be in a way that works for you. So this is
Absolutely.
something we need to find it because otherwise we won't sustain it.
Yeah.
Thank you so much again.
Thank
No,
you.
my pleasure, guys.
See you.
Sleepless insomnia. Why?